Contention. Critique. Conjecture. Conclusion.
The Huddle with corporate cars, saving you thousands on luxury European vehicles.
In the Huddle tonight, Josie Pagani, very good evening to you.
Hello.
And Cameron Slater is with us as well. Hi, Cam, going well?
Yes, always going well.
Of course. All right, let's start with you. John Minto is not very happy about missing the trip to South Africa.
Have you ever seen John Minto happy about anything?
Ah, you're rotten. So there goes another quote of the year.
Well,
That's so unkind.
I mean, when Nelson Mandela was here last at St Matthew's in the city, John Minto hectored him, abused him, and said, well, why didn't you get rid of all of these global conglomerates that were conducting business in South Africa? And Mandela politely replied to him, well, who's going to give all our people the jobs? And John Minto is that rude and that obnoxious. He even turned down an Oliver Tambo award because that nothing in his mind had improved since the end of apartheid. So I don't think he deserves to go at all, and he should just stick a megaphone in his mouth and have a whinge from the union officers.
What about the principle, Josie, of representation of that protest bloc for the Springbok tour? Somebody else, maybe?
I do think that there needs to be somebody there from that part. I mean, that's part of our history, and that was definitely something that Nelson Mandela himself wanted to honour when he was here. And I know Trevor Richards, for example, who was involved in Heart, just as John Minto was, and Trevor would be the perfect person to go, and he did accept the award and the honour from the South African government. What I can't forgive John Minto for is this week he spent so much time saying that Mandela didn't live up to expectations or up to his expectations just because Nelson Mandela managed to, bring an end to apartheid where you get murdered for the colour of your skin, you can't ride in the back of a bus, you got criticised because he didn't eradicate all poverty in South Africa. Well, you imagine if Nelson Mandela had come out of prison as angry as John Minto. It would be a very different South Africa we'd be looking at today. Well,
that's a very interesting point, isn't it? Anybody who wants a kind of beginner's guide to that might go and get the Invictus DVD out.
That's right. I mean, the thing is, Mandela came out of that prison. I've sat in his cell in Robben Island. I was there with my young daughter a few years ago. And, to think that he came out and not only did he not hate his jailers, he embraced his jailers. And he made them part of the new South Africa. I mean, that's just such a phenomenal thing.
Josie?
Yeah.
I mean, I tell you what, if I'd been in prison for 27 years, it would have been a whole lot more hate than what Nelson Mandela had.
Too right. Me too. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
So
that's the measure of the man there, that he could forgive. And forgiveness isn't about the other people that you forgive, it's about you, because hate consumes you and it eats away like a cancer on your soul. And unfortunately, John Minto seems to have a real good dose of that.
And Mandela he did a lot. He did a lot for child poverty. He did a lot for poverty in South Africa. Poverty levels did go down, and funding for HIV/AIDS went up. I mean, there's a lot there that he did. He was pragmatic, but he never lost his idealism, and that's the perfect kind of politician to me.
Josie Pagani and Cam Slater with us on the Huddle tonight here at NewstalkZB. It's 13 to 6. Back with more in just a moment. Let's get back to the panel. Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater with us. Poverty. Cameron, the report out today, your thoughts?
Well, we've spent a lot of money, the Children's Commissioner has spent a lot of money proving what's already been proven before, that we have a subjective assessment of what poverty is, which is based on the median wage in New Zealand, which is always going to move, and the subjective number that 65% of that, and if you're under that threshold, means that you're living in abject poverty. Nothing could be further from the truth than that. We have a welfare system, we have checks and balances, we have a minimum wage, we have all of these things in place. There is no way that we have what these people are claiming to be poverty. We're a first world country, for goodness sake, with people with free education.
But if that were true, Cam, we wouldn't have kids with, silly diseases, would we? We wouldn't have kids going to school without food, without breakfast in their stomachs.
It's poor parenting, not poverty.
Yeah, but come on, Cam. I mean, when you've got a list of indicators and statistics, and you can debate the statistics as much as you want, I don't really think they're the issue. The point is when you've got kids who are, for whatever reason, going to school hungry, they've only got one pair of shoes, they're not going on the school camps, and as you said, Tim, the diseases that are about poverty are on the rise. So you can say, yep, blame the parents, and in some cases, absolutely, you're going to be right. But there's a whole bunch of parents who you can't blame. I mean, the 40% of those kids living in poverty come from working families, for goodness sake. So you can't squeal at me, Cam, every time we have a debate about the living wage so that you can actually afford some of these things, you can't squeal at that and say, no, that's an outrageous socialist rubbish, bunch of hippies,
it's another
whatever.
Rubbish calculation.
All right.
So,
Hang on, Josie, hang on a sec. Why wouldn't we use the living wage to address this? We need to address it, don't we, Cam, if it's true?
It won't address it.
Of course it will, Cam.
Inflation, if you put up the costs in wages, businesses put up the costs and you're no better off.
Right, so there's no evidence to say that, actually.
Yes, there is. There's plenty. It's called economics. I know you Labour supporters don't know what those are. But here's the real question, Josie. If people are stuck in poverty, why are they still breeding heaps of kids?
Well, here's the question for you, Cam. If you're happy to keep subsidising low wages with benefits like working for families, that's fine. Go ahead.
Not.
But then exactly.
Take them away.
Will you do about the fact that even working families with good parents can't afford to send their kids on school trips? Now, okay, that's not starving in Ethiopia,
that's poverty,
but it is a problem in New Zealand. Are you happy about that? Do you think that's okay for New Zealand, that people can't even send their kids to a museum visit?
It's a question that...
The poverty is that you can't send your kids to a school camp. Well, then you've got a seriously disconnected view of the world.
You might also...
There's real poverty out there, and it isn't in New Zealand.
You might also say that if that's the definition of poverty, then most kids in this country got it pretty good. Cameron Slater, Josie Pagani on the Huddle. Love your time. Love to have more time. Haven't got it. 7 to 6, NewstalkZB.